Picture this. It's the middle of January. A brutal snowstorm is rolling in, temperatures are dropping to single digits, and the power goes out. Most of us would be in full panic mode, frantically texting neighbors and Googling how long does meat last without a fridge. But about 20 miles down the road, in a quiet Amish farmhouse lit only by oil lamps, nobody is worried, not even a little. Because that family has been preparing for this moment since October, and they have enough preserved meat to feed everyone comfortably until spring. No freezer, no generator, no problem. That contrast used to blow my mind. I grew up in a house where if the fridge stopped working for more than 4 hours, my mom was throwing everything out and ordering pizza. The idea that an entire community could not only survive, but actually thrive through brutal winters without a single refrigerator felt almost impossible to me. Then I started learning about what the Amish actually do, and let me tell you, it did not just change how I think about food preservation. It changed how I think about self-sufficiency entirely. The Amish have been preserving meat through harsh winters for generations, long before electricity was even an option. And here's the fascinating part. They did not lose these skills when the modern world moved on. They kept them, refined them, passed them down through families like treasured heirlooms. While the rest of us were busy buying chest freezers and vacuum sealers, they were perfecting techniques that have roots going back hundreds, sometimes thousands of years, techniques that work just as well today as they did in 1820. So let's talk about how they actually do it, because the methods are more sophisticated than most people realize. And honestly, a few of them might just make you rethink that second freezer you have sitting in your garage. It all starts in autumn, and it starts with salt. If you want to understand Amish meat preservation, you have to understand their relationship with salt, because it is not just an ingredient to them. It is a cornerstone of survival. When the butchering season kicks off in late fall, typically after the first hard freeze, Amish families get to work immediately. Large cuts of pork, beef, and sometimes chicken get rubbed down with generous, and I mean genuinely generous, amounts of salt. Every surface, every crevice, every fold of fat gets coated. This is not a sprinkle situation. This is a full commitment. The reason this works comes down to basic science. Bacteria need moisture to grow and multiply. Salt draws moisture out of the meat through a process called osmosis, creating an environment where harmful bacteria simply cannot get a foothold. Without that moisture, the bacteria have nothing to work with, and the meat stays safe. It sounds almost too simple, does it not? Like the answer was just sitting in your kitchen cabinet this whole time while you were paying your electricity bill. I talked to someone who had visited an Amish community during butchering season, and they described the salt curing process as almost meditative. The family worked together quietly and methodically, rubbing the salt in with their hands, making sure no spot was missed. It was not just a chore, it was a ritual. When the curing was done, those cuts were stacked carefully in wooden barrels or curing boxes, layered with more salt, and left to sit for days or even weeks, depending on the size of the cut. A big ham might sit in a salt cure for the better part of a month before it is ready for the next stage. What surprised me most when I first learned about this was the flavor. I had this image in my head of salt-cured meat being this overwhelmingly salty, nearly inedible thing. The kind of food you eat only because you have no other choice. That assumption was completely wrong. Done correctly, salt curing creates meat with a depth of flavor that is genuinely extraordinary. The salt does not just preserve, It transforms. It concentrates the natural flavors of the meat while creating this incredible savory complexity that you just do not get from a fresh cut. People who have tasted properly salt-cured Amish ham describe it as a revelation. And once you taste it, they say, the stuff at the grocery store never quite measures up. But salt alone, as powerful as it is, only gets you so far. The Amish know this, and they have a next step that is equal parts practical and absolutely magical when it comes to flavor. Smoking. Walk into an Amish smokehouse in late November and you are stepping into something that feels timeless. The air is thick and fragrant, heavy with the scent of smoldering hardwood. Hams hang from the rafters. Sausages dangle in neat rows. Bacon slabs are draped over wooden rods, slowly taking on that gorgeous deep mahogany color that tells you something incredible is happening. The Amish treat their smokehouses with the same care that a master craftsman treats their workshop, because getting the smoking process right is genuinely a skilled art. The type of wood matters enormously. Hickory is a favorite for its bold, robust flavor. Applewood brings a slightly sweeter, more delicate smoke. Cherrywood adds a mild fruitiness. The Amish do not grab whatever scraps are lying around. They select their wood deliberately, matching it to the type of meat they are smoking and the flavor profile they are after. This is knowledge that gets passed from parent to child, from grandparent to grandchild, refined over decades of experience. What the smoking process actually does, beyond creating that incredible flavor, is fascinating. The heat and smoke work together to further reduce the moisture content of the meat, building on what the salt cure already started. Additionally, the compounds in wood smoke, things like phenols and aldehydes, have genuine antimicrobial properties. They create a surface barrier on the meat that actively resists bacterial growth. The combination of low moisture, salt, and the antimicrobial effects of smoke creates multiple overlapping layers of protection. It is not just one thing keeping the meat safe. It is 3 or 4 things working together, which is why properly smoked and cured meat can last not just for weeks, but for months. And I want to be honest with you about something. When I tried smoking meat for the first time, inspired by everything I had been reading about Amish techniques, I thought I was ready. I had watched videos. I had bought decent wood chips. I had set up my little smoker with the confidence of someone who absolutely does not know what they are doing, but has convinced themselves they do. 3 hours later, I had produced something that was technically smoked, in the sense that smoke had been near it, but the flavor was nothing like what I had tasted from genuinely well-smoked meat. The Amish make it look effortless because they have been doing it since childhood. That experience gave me a whole new appreciation for the skill involved. Now here is something that might surprise you. The Amish do not just use savory methods for their preservation. They have a technique that sounds almost counterintuitive when you first hear it. Sugar curing. Yes, sugar. The same stuff you put in your morning coffee is actually a legitimate meat preservation tool, and the Amish have been using it alongside salt for generations. The process works similarly to straight salt curing, but with a blend of salt and sugar rubbed into the meat. The sugar serves multiple purposes. It helps draw out moisture, just like salt does, contributing to that hostile to bacteria environment. But it also counterbalances the harshness of the salt, creating a more nuanced flavor profile on the final product. Sugar-cured hams and bacon develop this extraordinary sweet and savory complexity that is genuinely unlike anything you have ever bought at a store. The The first time someone tastes properly sugar-cured bacon, they tend to go quiet for a moment. That silence is respect. What is interesting about sugar curing historically is that it was not invented by the Amish. It is an old technique that many cultures stumbled upon independently, realizing that sugar had preservation properties beyond just making things taste good. But the Amish took it and refined it with the same patient attention to detail that defines everything they do. The ratio of salt to sugar, the specific type of sugar used, whether to add any additional spices to the cure mix, these are things that vary from family to family, each household guarding their particular blend with quiet pride. Getting that ratio right matters more than you might think. Tip too far toward the sugar side, and the meat can become almost dessert-like in its sweetness, which is not exactly what you want when you are making a main course. Stay too conservative with the sugar, and you lose that beautiful balance that makes the technique worth using in the first place. The Amish have dialed it in through generations of trial and error, and the result is a product that is not just preserved, but genuinely elevated. Between the salt curing, the smoking, and the sugar curing, you already have a remarkably effective preservation system. But the Amish do not stop there. They have additional techniques that layer on top of these, creating a complete winter preservation strategy that covers every scenario and every type of meat. And some of those methods, the ones we will get into in part 2, are the ones that really make you stop and think about just how resourceful and brilliant traditional knowledge can be. Because here is the thing about what the Amish have figured out. They are not doing this out of stubbornness or a refusal to modernize. They are doing it because it works. Remarkably, impressively, deliciously well. And in a world where the power grid feels a little less reliable every year, that knowledge starts looking less like a quaint tradition and a lot more like wisdom. We probably should have been paying closer attention to all along. We left off with salt, smoke, and sugar doing the heavy lifting in the Amish preservation arsenal. But the story does not end there. When winter truly sets in and those bitter temperatures lock everything down, the Amish pull out methods that are so clever and so perfectly adapted to their environment, you almost feel embarrassed for every modern convenience you have ever taken for granted. Let's talk about lard, because this is the one that really catches people off guard. Once meat has been cooked, the Amish discovered centuries ago that submerging it completely in rendered animal fat creates an almost airtight seal that locks out bacteria and keeps the meat preserved for months. The process is called lard packing, and it works because bacteria cannot survive without oxygen. Pour enough rendered lard over cooked meat, let it solidify around every surface, and you have essentially built a natural vacuum seal using nothing but fat and patience. Properly lard-packed meat stored in a cool space can last 6 months or longer, staying moist and flavorful in a way that dried or smoked meat simply cannot replicate. The first time I heard about this, I pictured opening a jar of meat encased in white fat and feeling deeply unsure about the whole situation. But people who have actually eaten lard-preserved meat describe it as remarkable. The fat does not just protect, it bastes the meat continuously at room temperature, keeping it tender and rich in a way that feels almost indulgent. Then there is the root cellar, which is essentially the Amish version of a refrigerator, except it is built into the earth itself. These underground storage rooms maintain temperatures between 32 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit naturally, using nothing but the insulating properties of soil. No compressor, no electricity, no monthly utility cost. Just the consistent, reliable coolness of the ground. Cured and smoked meats hang freely in root cellars, benefiting from steady airflow that prevents moisture buildup, while the stable temperature slows bacterial activity to nearly nothing. Families have relied on these structures for centuries, and the Amish never stopped building them, never saw a reason to trade something that worked perfectly for something that required a power bill. Winter itself becomes a tool too. When temperatures outside drop well below freezing, the Amish simply use the cold air as a natural freezer, hanging larger cuts of meat in outbuildings or under covered outdoor structures where the frigid temperatures keep everything safely preserved. They cover the meat with breathable materials like burlap to protect against snow and moisture while still allowing the cold air to circulate. What is genuinely interesting about this method is that extremely cold temperatures actually improve the texture of certain cuts by breaking down muscle fibers, resulting in more tender meat once it is eventually cooked. Mother Nature, essentially, doing the work of a commercial freezer for free. And then there is pressure canning, which is perhaps the most long-lasting of all their methods. The Amish fill glass jars with prepared meat, seal them, and process them in a pressure cooker at temperatures high enough to eliminate every possible bacterium, including the dangerous ones that regular boiling cannot touch. The result is shelf-stable meat that requires no refrigeration whatsoever and can last 3 to 5 years in a cool pantry. Open a jar in the middle of February, and you have fully cooked, ready-to-use meat that goes straight into a stew or onto a plate. It is practical in the most profound sense of the word. What ties all of these methods together is not just their effectiveness, it is the mindset behind them. The Amish do not preserve meat out of necessity alone. They do it as an expression of self-sufficiency, responsibility, and deep respect for the resources they have been given. Nothing is wasted. Every animal, every cut, every scrap of fat serves a purpose. In a world that has convinced us we need a plugged-in appliance for every problem, the Amish are quietly proving otherwise. Their pantries are full, their families are fed, and the power being out means absolutely nothing to them. That is not just impressive. That is wisdom worth learning.